Hey guys, this is Omar from YouTube channel Shout Your Blessings. Today we're not in any of our usual studios. We are blessed by being in France. So yeah, we're going to have a chat today. This is a men's health special, and I've got two wonderful guys with me today who are going to talk about their experiences. So just before I introduce you to them, I'd just like to just give thanks to God for actually making it possible that we can actually be here and yeah, be here. Right, so immediately next to me I have Dave Marks. Hey Dave.
Yeah, and how would you like me to introduce myself?
Sir Dave.
Lord Sprinter.
So yeah, Dave Marks and Richard Peter. Yeah.
Yes.
So look, so this health special is about prostate cancer, and obviously we've all heard, well, I'm assuming we've all heard about it. It affects a lot of, it affects the black population more than it affects like the Caucasian. So for Caucasians it's,
I think it's 1 in 8.
1 in 8, and for black darker skinned people it is 1 in 4. 1 in 4.
Yeah.
So, and it's a silent killer. It is a silent killer. I mean, best case scenario, you catch it early, you're great. If you catch it late, you could use your sex life. If you catch it really, really late, you can die. So it's not something that's like you should be like messed about. And if you're in the age bracket that you're susceptible, what's the age?
Well, for black men, it's 45. From 45.
Yeah, so from 45 upwards, you should go and get checked because you're in a catchment and you're affected. Anyway, I'll do my best. Okay, so Dave, tell me your story because I know that you've had prostate cancer.
So my story is that I was ski, cycle, do all kind of sport activities. Never been checked before. Don't go to the doctor. Don't really have any illnesses. Touch wood. Never any broken bones, anything like that. And my now wife said to me, "Have you been checked for prostate cancer?" I said, No, I'm not being checked because I've never been ill. She said, "You should get checked." And that started an initial conversation. 2 months later, she asked again, "Should I get checked?" And then I went to the doctor to get checked. Went to my local GP, told him the statistics. I've never been checked for prostate cancer. First thing he asked me, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm feeling fine, absolutely fine." He said, "There's no need for it. Maybe you should come back. Maybe you should come back."
So, what do you mean? There's no need. Your doctor said
My
there's no
doctor
need.
said there's no need. Let's have a checkup.
And
I went home without having a checkup, and that wasn't a very good position for me to be in because my wife was not impressed
I've never been impressed.
and said I should have insisted that I had a checkup.
Okay.
So subsequently, I went again and was told the same thing again, and decided to go private. So I went private and had a complete MOT.
Right, so you're saying that you went twice and your doctor
Yeah.
basically said, no, you're fine, without even...
Wasn't keen on even doing any checks. And at the time, I didn't know what those kind of checks should be, right? So I was pretty ignorant of it at the time. So I wouldn't be able to insist on what to check.
Okay.
I just said, "I have prostate cancer. Can I have a checkup, please?"
How was you feeling? I mean, did you have any symptoms?
I didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. None whatsoever.
Okay, so just for our audience, what are the symptoms of prostate cancer?
So the symptoms you get is you'd want to go to the toilet more, so you'd want to urinate more. That's the early stages, but that's still not aligned to prostate cancer. That's just one of the symptoms.
And is that because of the enlarged
Enlarged prostate.
Right, so in layman's terms, so the prostrate's a gland. and what happens is it actually sits on top of your urethra. So so that's the tube that you actually urinate with. And as we get older, that gets bigger. But if it starts to get like to a size where it's a problem, it squeezes on your urethra. So therefore, so when you urinate, you get like a thin. Well, you start stop. It's a weak pee stream.
Yeah.
So that's an early sort of like a warning.
Yeah, it is. It is. But so for me, I had an MOT. I went private, paid substantial amount of money for that private check to check everything.
Okay.
That was diabetes, cholesterol, everything. And off the back of that, they said that my PSA was slightly higher than average. At the time, it was about 3.5.
What's a PSA?
So a PSA is an indicator as to whether or not you will have prostate cancer.
Okay.
Okay. And that's the first sort of indicator that they would use as a measurement. So typically, your PSA would be in and around, or between 0 and around 2.5. 3.5 is something not to be a major concern, but it does invite the opportunity for further checks.
And you were, what was your?
Mine was 3.7.
So just
just
about.
borderline.
Yeah. Okay.
So from there, I was referred to a specialist, and the specialist then did some further checks, and then recommended that I had an MRI scan. And all this was in sort of timeline terms. I went private in May, had the specialist check me in July, had an MRI scan, recommended the MRI scan in October. They said that there are areas that they've got concerned of, areas of concern that needs to be checked further. And I had a biopsy in the November and was diagnosed by December.
And it came back positive that you
Yes.
got prostate
Yes,
cancer.
I've got prostate cancer.
And so so the doctor told you this,
It's a specialist by that time.
okay.
Because this time I've not gone to my GP at all. This is all private, right? This has all been private at that time. And then I was referred to a specialist who gave me some options to do.
So just stop. So you've been told. So you feel fine. You're absolutely fine.
Yep, still fine.
And you guys know that like this man is fit. You know what I mean? Cycles, skis, runs. You're fit. Nothing wrong with you.
Yep.
So you've been told now that you've got cancer. I mean, how do you feel? I mean, what effect did it have on you?
When I was invited to go to the specialist who said that he had my results, one of the telling things he said to me was, I advise you not to drive. Get someone to drive with you when I tell you what the outcome is. So when he told me the outcome, I was in complete shock. Because I didn't understand. Even to this day, I don't understand, really.
So
because
no symptoms? No symptoms?
None?
Nothing?
None.
Okay.
None. The one thing that he said to me as well, he said, don't drive home. He said that my PSA was not growing quickly, but they do need to do something. They gave me options, and I know we'll probably touch on it a bit later, but depending on your health, depending on your age, the options changes that are offered to you. So I was offered chemo, I was offered an operation procedure, or I was offered, what's the third? Radiotherapy. And hormone.
So chemo, radiotherapy, and hormone treatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you don't always get those choices.
So if you're not in good shape, so I suppose it's a bit like COVID. Like when people were dying, they said a lot of people who died during COVID had like underlying health issues. So it's the same sort of thing. If your body's not in shape, if you don't look after yourself, you're more susceptible to these diseases and cancers, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. And so you opted for what?
I opted for a procedure.
Okay.
And one of the first things I said to the doctor, by the time I was, like I said, I was diagnosed in December, I just said to him, if I have the procedure, when can I ski?
Okay, the important things.
So he came back and said to me, because it's so slow growing, you could go skiing, and after skiing you could have the procedure.
Okay.
But the radiotherapy is a different treatment, and it goes over a longer period of time. A procedure takes half a day.
Right. So obviously, you was told, and it had an effect on your life. Even now, you can't quite understand why you're in this situation.
I'm classified as a cancer survivor, so I get checked every 6 months now for the rest of my life.
And so it's affected your life, obviously. Not
Not now. Now that I've had the procedure, now I've recovered completely. I could do everything I could do before. I can now do.
Okay. So obviously you're not alone. You're married. I mean, how did this affect your lovely wife?
My lovely wife is very supportive, extremely supportive.
I'd expect that. I'd expect that. But I mean,
I think she was more worried about how I would manage it and how she would take. She was there to support me through this, and she has done.
okay. And okay. All right. Hello, Richard. You've been a bit quiet over there. So, Richard, I mean, you've got a tale to tell as well.
Yes. Well, my story actually leads on from Dave's, because when we were skiing, we was on the ski lift chair, and he said to me that he's having a procedure to have his prostate removed.
So you were skiing?
Yeah, you're skiing. You're skiing.
So this is so sorry.
Yeah, go on.
So when I said I was having my procedure after skiing,
Yeah.
so while we was skiing on the chairlift, I was told Richard.
Okay.
And that's how, because I told me I didn't even know what the prostate is or was really, or ignorant of it. You know, so when he told me, and he said, I've had been checked, I said, well, no, not really, been checked. So when I got back to the UK, I went to my GP, and I said, can I have a PSA? And he went, well, you're a bit young for that, you're a bit young. And I went, well, I explained my friend who's having the procedure, and one in 4 black men has the disease. So maybe he just found it in his chair, checked my ID. Oh yeah, you're in your
You're old enough.
50, yeah, old enough just about. And so he sent me away for my PSA, and then maybe about a week later, it was on a Saturday. I don't normally get a call from the GP, and he said to me, my PSA is 23.5.
So,
and the way you're talking, he said, have I got any symptoms? Or am I okay? And I was going, yeah, I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm all right. Because I was in the bike shop in Beckenham. I was getting my bike done. So he said, well, I'm going to have to fast track you to the Kings, to fast track there. So within about a couple of days, I was within Kings getting all the checks done. But everything came up fine. I had a MRI scan. They said maybe it's an infection was causing the PSA to be was high.
Mm-hmm.
So
just to check, as a stop. So yours was 3.7.
Mine was 3.7
and moving slowly.
And
yours was 23.
Yeah.
And you're still standing.
Yeah.
When he told me, I'll never forget it. Richard called me. I was on a train going into Blackfriars. I had to sit down because I couldn't even speak. Because I don't know how he's able to tell me that. I don't know how he's alive.
So when I spoke to you before, so I did a pre-chat with these guys just to get a bit of detail. You mentioned guilt. You mentioned feeling guilty. What was that about?
Well,
What do you feel guilty about?
I don't know what we discussed in what context, but I just couldn't understand how I could be 3.7 and Richard could be 23. That just doesn't register with me at all in terms of the level that PSA he's got, and he's still alive. But I just felt fortunate that I was able to alert him.
Oh, look,
Definitely.
I mean, as you guys know, I mean, this channel is Shout Your Blessings. It's all about blessings, and it's not a coincidence that you were both on a lift. It's not a coincidence that you told him. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I said you had a low level. You had it done. I mean, if you didn't, if that interaction didn't happen, as I said, Rich was ignorant to it, and
would have most definitely have spread.
And you know, and that's how, for me, that's a blessing. That's how God moves. You know what I mean? You put you two together. You told him, and he was able to get done. So, using Kings.
Yeah, I'll get everything done. They said everything fine. MRI scan came back clean. They couldn't see nothing at all. But what they said, just to be sure, they would do a biopsy to just do doubly check. So I had a biopsy done, then came in for the results. Because I thought they could say, yeah, antibiotics, and they said I've got an aggressive cancer, and I want to check, ensure that it's not spread to my bones and stuff like that. So I had a number of tests, like it's called a PET scan.
Yeah, PET scan.
Where you put this sort of blue dye in and check to see if there's anything has actually spread.
So it's just a full body scan.
Yeah, full body scan. Yeah, full body scan.
Okay.
And luckily enough, it hadn't. Well, it did. So again the same options. So I went for have it removed.
So had it so obviously had it spread into your bones, what would that mean?
Then I would have to have either chemo or radiotherapy with hormone. Yeah, because it would make any sense removing it because it's already spread.
Right. So you'd have cancer.
Yeah. It was then. See your bones. It's outside.
And you were talking. I think you were saying you was at a bike shop and you got the news that you had a high PSA level. I mean, how did you feel? I mean, you know what? You know, it's just like being hit with a glove.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't actually really understand what it actually meant. To be honest with you, I didn't. Cause I didn't know about the levels at all. I didn't know. So when I went home and I told Lara, my wife, she looked at me. I think she knew what it actually meant. I think she knew, but I didn't really. I didn't really register.
Okay.
So when I'd done my research and looking at the Gleason level and stuff like that, then I got to sort of understand what it actually means. So yeah. So I had the seizure, and then I had a PSA check after that. Then it went down, but then it started to creep up again, which meant that even though they've removed the prostate, there's still something there.
So that's why you have the treatment every.
Yeah, well, the following year I had radiotherapy.
Okay.
I had a 6-week course, and then it went down, but it is creeping up again. Yeah.
So yours is actually kind of not buoyant, but it moves up and down.
What they said, if the trend continues, I'll have to have another course in November.
Okay. And yourself, is yours moving or is it
No,
steady?
mine's not registering at all. So
Okay.
far.
Okay. Wow. So, a similar question I asked Dave. I mean, how did it affect your life?
I would say I was shocked. I think relatively, as you said, run wide, ski. So it's not something that she expected. But yeah, she supportive, definitely.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, I mean, some very like important messages for people, so whoever's listening or watching here, for you guys. I mean, we're all at that age. We are at that age where, I mean, we're fit. We tend to look after ourselves, but these little things like prostate cancer, getting these checks. I mean, for me, I mean, it's a killer. It's a silent killer. I mean, I believe Dave, you went on holiday as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so before we went skiing, I went to holiday on a safari in South Africa.
Okay.
There was 8 couples there, right? All my brothers and sisters out there. I told them about my circumstance.
Sorry, was Martin right? I remember that. You said my brothers.
He was busy again.
Anyway, carry on.
He was very busy. So we was out there. I told him about my procedure, what happened. Advised them strongly to get checked. And out of the 8 of them, 3 of them have had prostate. Right? So far, since I've had prostate, between brothers that I know, it's up to nearly double figures that's had prostate.
Yeah.
Right? In this room now.
And no symptoms.
And no symptoms.
And it's just, it's worrying. It's worrying.
Yeah. I'm the same as well. I've got one close friend of mine, but I've told him about my story, and again, he didn't know at and to say I had a check done. It came back at, I think, 7 or 8, and then what they said, it may because he was taking antibiotics at the same time, so he had it checked again a year later, and it went up to 11, and there's still no symptoms whatsoever. So anyone who thinks that they don't need to get checked, I advise them to get checked, especially if you're black and 45. Without a doubt.
And absolutely insist that you get checked. You should insist. And you know, it's a message really for my sisters, my aunts, grandmothers. Talk to your brothers. Get them to get checked. Insist it. Do not let it go. It's so important. Absolutely important.
Because as you guys must have realised if you've watched any of my other podcasts, men, we don't talk. We don't talk. You know what I mean? We just hold it down. We just do our thing. You know what I mean? My old man was the same. He passed away 20 odd years ago. But he used to hide things from my mum. My mum used to have to force him to go to doctors. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying we're not as bad, but it's I don't know if it's inherited, but like we've got to stop pretending that like, boy, it's not there, like that pain ain't there, or that pain don't mean nothing, or if you're not feeling well. And you know what, I take my hat to you women, you sisters, you know, who look after your men, your brothers, whatever. Because you guys drive, I mean, you're sensible, you're the sensible one at the race, you know what I mean? Because I know if like you're ill, you go to the doctors. If you need something, you go and do it. Whereas us men, we don't tend to talk, we take the higher stuff. So continue doing that job, like it's a fantastic job. And men, you guys have got to fix up. I mean, really.
Most as well, I think a lot of guys who don't go before when it comes to prostate, because they don't understand what the test is. They don't know it is a blood test. Some people think
that's all it is.
That's another scary thing. I mean, I went to get my test. I had my test done about 4 months ago. About 4 months ago. I tried to get it done probably about a year before that. I went to the doctors and the doctors said, no, we're not really doing that, or I got fobbed off twice. You know what I mean? And it was down to, it's just the message that NHS was putting out at that time. That for the local doctor surgeries, obviously they've got like a budget and they don't want to spend on that because it's expensive. That's one thing. Another thing as well, like men, I mean, we're all men, we don't want to feel invaded and stuff, and like it's no longer, it's no longer an intrusive.
So every man should know their PSA level. Every man, every black man over 45 should know what their PSA level is.
110%.
They should know it. They should know the trends, whether the trends are going up, whether it's going down. But you should know what your PSA level.
And sorry, and I was just saying, it's no longer intrusive. So it's just a blood test.
A blood test.
There's no rubber gloves. There's no, you know what I mean? You're not going to get rolled over. It's not about that anymore. Not about that anymore. So get yourself checked. You know what I mean?
Just get yourself checked.
Get yourself checked. So yeah. So listen, I'd like to thank you guys for taking your time out because you're on a ski holiday, and I mean, I got you off the mountain a bit earlier than you normally do.
Yes.
So I thank you for coming down and doing this. So at this point, I would like to open up to the floor if anyone's got any questions that they want to ask, and we can possibly answer them. Clive.
What is a PSA?
Right. What was it? It stands for protein.
Protein.
Is it?
I could.
Specific antigen.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
And that's to my point. Our sisters know.
You know what I mean? So yeah, and that's the level. I mean, so that's the test that they do, the level.
So you go to the doctor. They'll do a blood test. About that blood test, they'll get a registered rating for your PSA, and they'll be able to tell you that, and it will go to your. I don't know if guys use the NHS app. You just go to your NHS. You don't even have to go back to the doctor.
Sorry, Clive again.
Do we have a reading? Do we have a level? What range we should be in?
So it's 3.0.
Okay.
0 to 2.5 roughly. 0 to 2.5.
Ian.
So Dave, did you ever go back to your GP who told you you didn't need a prostate test?
I'm a black GP now.
You didn't go back to him?
So are you ever going back to him?
No.
And I find it quite shocking as well that it's a black GP who should kind of know better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway. So, Tracy.
More than observation, I was just going to add, and it's shocking, I think, that you're both rejected when you first asked. It's the same for my dad. When he went in and there was a GP, she said she was actually locum, and she refused to give him a test, but he was still worried, and he went back I think, a couple of months later and insisted on having a test, and then they found obviously that he had it too. But it's worrying that they're just ripping people off.
And that's why the point I'm saying you have to insist, right? And we as brothers don't really want to insist anymore, because when you go, you're not ill. You don't feel ill. So if the GP says to you, you can get it checked later, I'm happy to go out the door. I don't want to be a doctor, right? So, but we've got to insist.
But just add one more thing, just as a flag in case anyone else is affected. And he was also given testosterone before this, and what we think led to it was he'd gone in with something else. And for some reason, they prescribed to a 75-year-old man, whatever, 70, testosterone, and he was given a course of testosterone. And we think that was what led to him having an enlarged prostate and then the high PSA. So actually just flagging it as well, but if that's ever suggested, then just look into the risks of that for you.
Okay.
How can we
Sandra.
educate our brothers to let them know that it's not intrusive, because that is one of the reasons why they do not want to do it, because they feel I'm not a, you know what I mean? So what is it that we need to do? I mean, I know with my husband, obviously he knows, but how do we educate our black men to let them know that it's not intrusive, it's now only a blood test? What do you think we should do as a people, as a community, for our brothers?
Well, I would say, what we're doing now, that's going to go out on your channel. And I think there's a lot of charities that is currently doing it now anyway. But I think you're right. I think it needs to be quite sort of candid to sort of say what it is and what it's not. The actual test itself. Because I don't think I mean, okay, even here, I mean, who actually know what the test is? Like, you know, before we mentioned it. Yeah. I mean, who actually knew? I mean,
Blood test.
Yeah.
And there are campaigns. There are like campaigns being run. I mean, it's the radio. I've got a friend of mine who's a radio DJ, and he's been kind of pushing the whole prostrate thing, cancer thing, even like women with breast cancer and stuff. So it's for us to get up and do something. I mean, me, like, I'm doing this podcast thing. I'm not getting paid for it, you know, but it's something that I felt that I can do and should do, just to help. That's all. It's just to help, just awareness. So, you know, so it's down to you guys to basically get up and do something, help your community. Rima.
Yeah. I just like to thank Richard and Dave for sharing this with us, and also to obviously Omar for facilitating it, but also for Ski Fest for creating the space for us to have this conversation with sisters and brothers, so we can actually feel safe in a safe environment. It shows the power of Ski Fest and sort of gatherings like this. That's the first thing. The second thing, I've been having a blood test and a health check for the last 20 years, over 20 years, which PSA was one of the checks they do. I just looked at it as a routine because I heard about this thing. So I would encourage all men to have a check every year. I have it every year. Luckily, I have a doctor that if he sees anything, he goes, right, we're going to send you here, we're going to send you here. So I was lucky and I had it done on the NHS, and you can have it done on the NHS.
Yes,
you should push your doctor to do it. And just to add to the story, I had my PSA is around 3, I think maybe a bit below. I've got no symptoms, etc., etc. I did have although it's not intrusive, I had an intrusive test because they can feel the size bit. You correct me if you're wrong. I think the prostrate is like an acorn.
Yeah.
It's like a walnut. A walnut. And he said to me, yeah, one side is slightly bigger than the other, and I want to be absolutely 99. It's 99.9% that it's fine, but I'm going to send you for an MRI. I had an MRI in December, and the guy, when I came out, he went, I'm sure you want to know what the result is. Everything's fine, it's cool, because they check every little abnormality, and everything is good. But that could change. So yeah, I just wanted to add that to the whole sort of discussion as well. But every man, get checked. It doesn't cost you anything. Insist to your doctor to get checked.
Oh, I can see a little hand right at the back there.
What's the percentages of getting it?
Oh,
Good question.
jeez.
Percentages. All you could say is, for men over 45, 1 in 4 black men are likely to have prostate. So if you look at this room, you count 4. Every fourth person, every fourth man in this room could have prostate.
Right. Yes.
So I have a question. I know that my doctor, we have to, in order for us to make an appointment, we have to ring and we get through to the receptionist and they say, what are your symptoms? So how would you advise, particularly you, Dave, you went to your doctor, you, maybe it was an in-person consultation, and he looked at you, asked you, could see that you're a fit person, sent you away and said you don't need it. And so for a fit and healthy, very sporty individual who is on the phone to the receptionist, well, I don't actually have any symptoms, I want a PSA, and they just shut you down. How do you navigate the system so that you can insist? Because in practice, it's very difficult.
So you can have a consultation at your GP, and you should insist that you could have a consultation. And at that consultation, that's when you ask for the PSA.
But in your situation, you were refused twice and had to go private.
But at that point, I was ignorant. Now we're educated. I'm saying to you guys now, when you speak to your brother or your partner, when he goes and says that he should have his PSA, you could tell him that 1 in 4 black men are metallic, that's why I'm here, and you can insist on it. You should actually insist. That's the lesson for me that I've learned. I should have insisted.
Can I jump in there? So I had my GP say exactly the same thing. The question was, why do you think you need it? And I knew these statistics. As soon as I gave my GP these statistics, she said, fine. So there was no argument after that. And I'm hoping that would be the same for everybody, but you need to know these statistics if you're going to ask for it.
I'd be very surprised if our GP don't know.
My GP didn't know.
Well,
and this was 2 years ago, and my GP didn't know. But once I told her, she said, fine.
Clive, you wanted to?
I apologise again, I was late, so I don't know what you've actually spoken about. But did you touch on glycine? I don't know if I'm saying it right. Glycine level?
Gleason level.
Did you touch on that?
Well, I knew what mine was. I can't remember what it is now, but I think it means the is it the topic of the
level of
gradient of the cancer.
Yeah.
Maybe someone in God can explain it.
Yeah.
Can I just say something? I think you're giving GPs a little bit it's too much leeway. I mean, no GP wouldn't know the statistics. So if your GP doesn't know the statistics, you should be looking out for GPs who do know the statistics. And that's a problem. Why go to somebody who doesn't know your statistics? You know, and this is very, very, everybody in the world knows that black men suffer more with prostate cancer. And all doctors are actually taught that. And we all know the statistics. So for your GP not to know it, that's negligent. It really is. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Let me just say something. So just on this point, right? So I've been having my prostate checked for 20 years. How I ended up having mine done was there was a thing on TV about prostate, but it wasn't specifically about black men. It was just a prostate thing. And I decided I was nearly 40 then, I think, and I just decided I'm going to my GP. I'm going to have a prostate test, and I just think I need to have one. And my GP said exactly the same thing. Why do you need to have it? You're not 40. I think the age then was 45 that you could start having it. But I knew the stat, and I just said 1 in 4 black men have it, and I'm determined that I want to know what the situation is. And they allowed me to have one. In those days, though, they didn't do the PSA. The PSA is a relatively recent test, right? So that was intrusive. But I had one every year, and I probably didn't have one in the last couple of years, but I've had one this year. It is important that people understand that you have to insist. But I also think that part of the challenge is people now know what prostate cancer is. They now know it's worthwhile having a check. People make decisions about whether they're going to have one or not, but they know that there is a test out there. What people possibly don't know is so much about is what is life like after having prostate cancer? Because that's the next bit that we really need to educate people about, because we all know what the prostate does and why it does it and why it's important. But not necessarily everybody knows what life is like when you don't have one, yeah? And how much does that impact you in your normal daily living and function.
Okay, I'm going to take 2 more questions and we're going to have to wrap it up.
No worries. Lifestyle. Is there any sort of recommendation in regards to lifestyle outside of exercise, more of food intake? So, example, they say people that, well, not people, but people of colour, they eat too much meat. Sugar, we know that sugar kind of feeds cancer. So
there's
the
no
lifestyle.
definite link
Outside of
with,
exercise, that's more of
there's no
intake of food.
definite link with lifestyle at the moment, except that
Sorry, say it again, please.
there's no definite link with lifestyle, except that everybody knows that smoking increases all cancers, including
that's
prostate
right.
cancer. And also lack of exercise and also alcohol as well increases cancers. So smoking in particular increases all cancers. Prostate, bladder, you name it. And obesity as well increases cancer as well.
So what about the sugar side of things? I mean, because again, love sugar, enjoying meat.
But
They say that these things kind of trigger cancer, not necessarily just.
But that's likely to be diabetes that's going to affect you with sugar.
So.
And meat increases bowel cancer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So
Can you
hear a word there?
Can you? Sorry. Right. This is actually a GP who's actually speaking.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I. Yeah. so she. You know what I mean? So she knows what she's talking about. She can. Please join. Please sit down. We've only got a couple of minutes, honestly. Come. Take a sample.
I didn't quite finish my first thing about the glycine.
So,
level.
Clive, can I deal with that, right? The first thing you've got to do is get your PSA checked. Once those levels are identified, further checks will identify the glycine levels. Yeah? And that's where your GP will advise you on what those levels are. But the first thing to do is to get your PSA checked. That's the first indicator for prostate. Good.
Okay. There's two more questions. There's Merlin and there's a little man back there. Merlin.
On average, for those who had a PSA test, how long did it take for you to get the results back?
A day.
I've got mine about 5 days.
Mine was 5 days.
So I've got the NHS app. I don't know if anyone uses the NHS app.
Yeah.
If you download the NHS app, it gives you your complete medical records, going way back. Every time you've been to the doctor, what drugs you've taken, the lot. You go to get your PSA check, you don't even have to go back to the doctor. They will present that reading into the NHS app.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
There are, as you all probably know, there are different types of prostate cancer, and some are very aggressive, as Clive has just said. Some aren't aggressive at all. So you might find that your GP, your PSA is high, you get referred to a urologist, he says or she says you've got prostate cancer, but it's a slow growing one. It might take 20 years before it makes any changes. And so if they detect that kind of one in somebody who's 80 years old, they'll probably decide, well, there's no point treating it because it's very unlikely you're going to live for another 20 years. Probably another 20 years, you'll probably die of something else.
Yeah.
However, if they detect it in a younger man, so age 40 or so, then it might be worth treating. So it's not all prostate cancers that are going to be aggressive. However, it's good. I feel it's good to know whether you have it or not. And if GPs aren't testing, and the reason why they haven't been testing it is because they've been trying to save money. It is true, honestly. And if they say that they didn't know it was more common in black men, then that is ignorance. And you really should change your GP. But if they can say truthfully, yes, we know that, but we're trying to save money, and that's why we can't test the whole of Tottenham or Brixton, and we'd much rather just wait till somebody presents with the symptoms of cancer than screen it, then that's the truth. But I think that's actually changing now in the government. I think within the next year or so, they are going to bring in regular prostate cancer testing for all men. I mean, some prices, like our price, which we check everybody, certainly over the age of 40, and younger if there's a family history. So we check people anyway, or any symptoms. And we've had at least one guy, Jamaican guy, and he actually died of prostate cancer at 34. It was detected when he was 32. So it can also occur in younger men. So if you've got symptoms, even if you're 20, go and see a GP. But it's more common in people 40 years and above.
Okay, I've got the last question. Little man at the back had his hand up. You're up.
I've got his question.
Okay, last one.
Holistic lifestyle as opposed to pharmaceutical information. So there's two type of sciences. You've got holistic, herbs, etc., and pharmaceuticals, medicines. What's your opinion on that, GP? Yes.
Well, practically all our patients who've decided to go for the holistic route, unfortunately, they've died earlier, or they've tried to change over to the conventional treatment when it's too late. And that's very sad to actually watch and see when there is treatment, because some of them we've actually suggested really early,
right.
and at that time they're feeling fit and well, but some of them have wanted to go to religious routes. They've said, my pastor or my preacher has told me this, that, the other. They're going to pray for me, and I'm going to go to this Kingdom Hall or wherever it is. And unfortunately, that's been too late. And others have gone through the herbs.
So what about the prevention better than, prevention better than cure? So you going back to my main point earlier, outside of exercise, just based on what we consume. I think isn't that a factor? Like what we sort of ingest, like
like eating more magnesium or jojoba or whatever. We don't know of any herbs that would actually prevent you from getting prostate. And if there was, the pharmaceutical companies would be very rich selling it by now.
Well, they sell something.
And there's a lot of research going on prostate cancer. In America, prostate cancer in black men. In America, in the Caribbean, in Jamaica in particular, in the University of West Indies in Jamaica, and in one or two African countries. But there's a lot of research going on prostate cancer.
Unfortunately, we've run over. The staff here have been very gracious in allowing us, and we've got to finish. So, So listen, I'd like to thank you all of you for attending and being part of this. This is a Shout Your Blessings Men's Health Special on prostate cancer. I'd like to thank Richard. I'd like to thank Dave and our doctor. Our resident doctor. Thank you very much. So guys, one more thing. YouTube channel, Shout Your Blessings. Please go in there, subscribe, look at the videos, like. Yeah?
Thank you.
on your panel, my friend.